guys, I'm back with another Batmobile, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the Eaglemoss Batmobile from All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder #1. I wanted to take a look at this model because April marked the 75th anniversary of the character of Robin, specifically Dick Grayson, and All-Star Batman and Robin is basically a Robin origin story. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with it, the DC All-Star books basically took some of the best and well-known DC writers and artists and pretty much gave them free rein to come up with any story they wanted. These books did not necessarily have to follow the canon of a comic book character's history. And while some, like All-Star Superman, were successful, others were somewhat controversial. Now, All-Star Batman and Robin was written by Frank Miller with artwork by Jim Lee. Now, while Frank Miller is often credited with writing one of the greatest Batman books, All-Star Batman and Robin received a lot of criticism from fans, basically saying that Miller, ironically, misrepresented the character of Batman. The book also became famous for a particular catchphrase that Batman used throughout the book. Now, regardless of what we think about the writing in this book, there is no denying that Jim Lee brings his A game. For me, Jim Lee's work on this book is the reason to pick it up. He gives us some stunning artwork of the Batman universe, and of course he gives us yet another great depiction of the Batmobile. So, first let's take a quick look at the magazine because it has some really cool images that I want to show you. Of course the cover has this great animated image of the Batmobile, but the front chapter here, it has some really great artwork of what's supposed to be the early days inside the Batcave. They have an image of this Batmobile coming out of its submarine mode, right when it first gets to the Batcave. Now, I love it when artists like Jim Lee or Greg Capullo do this. They'll draw the Batcave, and then they'll have all of these Easter eggs hidden throughout, specifically past models of the Batmobile. And Jim Lee does that here in All-Star Batman and Robin. In the foreground, there's a shot of the Bat Tank from Miller's Dark Knight Returns, and it looks like it's sort of under construction. You also have a couple of Batmobiles there in the front from different issues like Legends of the Dark Knight, and one that looks like the Batmobile from The Dark Knight Strikes Again, which I think this All-Star Batmobile is modeled after. And then there's one that actually looks like the '66 Batmobile. And if you look closely over on the left, you see what looks like the front end of the '89 Batmobile. It's very cool. I love it when they do this. Jim Lee also includes this shot of the ancient armory, which also makes me think of certain scenes from the '89 Batman movie. And of course, in the magazine, we have these awesome blueprints. And just like the model, the blueprints of this Batmobile are presented in flight mode. And it has the list of features and schematics. Turbocharged engines, twin jet engines for when the flight mode is engaged. It also has ejector seats and missile batteries. The cross sections are great because you can see some of the different features for the different modes that this Batmobile can transform into. You got the puncture-resistant tires that fold under for flight mode, the wing flaps, and the oxygen tanks for both flight and underwater mode. This is really the kind of Batmobile that puts any of the classic gadget-filled Bond cars to shame. I think it's one of the best things to come out of the All-Star Batman and Robin book. Now, before we look at the diorama, I have to say something about the display case. There were a lot of complaints on the forums regarding the display case for this particular model, and the primary issue had to do with the size of the case. Now, when you look at it from the front, the length of the case appears to be identical to all of the other standard-sized Eaglemoss Batmobiles. But when you look at it from the side, you can see it's much wider. The dimensions for this one are similar to the cases that they've used for bigger models like the Batwing, the Bat Helicopter, or some of the other large-scale vehicles. Now, here's one of the standard-sized cases. And you can see there's a pretty big difference between the two. Now, these Eaglemoss cases are almost designed to be stacked up on top of each other. And I think the main complaint that some folks had was if you're collecting just a few of these Batmobiles and you really wanted to get this model, you wouldn't be able to display it with the other Batmobiles that you had because of the size difference. Now, I personally, I don't have a problem with it because I'm collecting all of these Batmobiles, and I could easily display it with some of the other cases. But I totally understand the complaint. The question came into play because this Batmobile could actually fit in a standard size case. So if I take this case off and I use one of the standard sized cases, you can see that it does fit. Now, it could potentially be a tight fit, and I guess because of the wings, Eaglemoss wanted to prevent any possible damage, and they just decided to use a bigger case. And, I appreciate that. So, enough about that. Let's check out the diorama because I think it's pretty cool. It's a very simple diorama, but it's very effective at the same time. So, checking out the 3D lenticular. It has some very bright colors, which, again, I think it really helps to highlight this model in the diorama. It comes from that scene in the book when they first reveal the flight mode for the Batmobile. Batman is trying to evade the corrupt Gotham City police after he rescues Dick Grayson from them. There are the exploding cop cars in the background. And again, the bright colors really help to highlight this Batmobile. And that whole scene is, of course, taking place at night. So the base has colors from some of the dark back roads, like we see in the book during the car chase. Again, it's not a very elaborate diorama, but the image of the explosions in the background really help to punctuate the Batmobile in this display. So, taking a closer look at this model in the Batcave. The relatively simple design of the die-cast metal body has all sorts of cool plastic extensions and additions. It has the fins in the back, and it has the expected large bat fin on the top. And if I turn it over here, you get a better shot of the wings on the side. And underneath, where the tires are almost retracted, you have the rubber tires, and you have some nice detailing on the silver hubcaps. Looking at the front, you have the plastic gel pieces for the headlights. And the eyes on the hood and the white of the windshield, that's all painted on. And two of the parts that I really love about this model, first is the turbines on the top. You can see the sculpted fans inside are painted red. It's like that on both sides. The other thing is, on both sides, you have the missile launchers. And each of those silver missiles in there, they're individually sculpted. It's kind of hard to get it to focus because they're so tiny. But you can kind of see them in there. The sculpting on the side of the body is nice too. And there's some great detail on the back. There aren't many shots in the book of the back of the car. You do get one good image when the Batmobile is in submarine or underwater mode, when Batman is taking Dick Grayson to the Batcave for the first time. And we see this Batmobile transform into different modes throughout the beginning of the story. And I think it's interesting that Eaglemoss chose to display this one in flight mode. And I think it was a good choice, actually, because it adds to the visual variety in this line of Batmobiles. In closing, this is another great model of a unique take on the Batmobile. The standard body of the car has a classic gangster-era design, but as we see in the book, this Batmobile has quite a few hidden features along with its multiple transformation modes. Again, I'm glad Eaglemoss decided to display it in flight mode because it adds to the overall variety in this line of Batmobiles. Let me know what you guys think about this one. And happy 75th to Robin the Boy Wonder. If you're a fan of the character of Robin, check out my buddy Rob's channel over at Rob's Rogues. I'll leave a link to his channel down in the description box. As always, special thanks to Stewart Murray for helping me out with my Batmobile collection. And if you haven't done so already, please take a moment to subscribe and feel free to leave a comment. So, we've been looking at the Eaglemoss Batman Automobilia issue number 39, the Batmobile from All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder number 1. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.